All right, guys, we're going to take a look at number 5 here in our isometric sketches. Looks kind of like a house. And I'm noticing that there's kind of like two shapes that are merged together here. So we're going to pretty much do that. So I'm going to get a new Part Studio going here. And I'm going to go ahead and draw on that front sketch plane. And I'm going to make that first, the main body of that house. So as a quick reminder, that main body is 6 units wide and 5 units tall to the peak. So I'm just going to keep that in mind when I get there. All right, so first things first, I'm actually going to start with a center point rectangle. And this is going to be, if I take a look at my picture, it's going to be 6 units wide and 3 units tall. So I'm going to go dimension that right there. Make it 6 units wide. Make this one 3 tall. All right, and I used a center point rectangle because I'm going to want to make a line or a triangle using lines. So I'm going to start there and go up to there and then down to there. And so because I did a center point rectangle, it kind of knew that I wanted that peak to be on that vertical axis. So it's kind of using a smart tool there. If I wanted to, I could double check and see what features or what constraints that point has, and it has a vertical constraint, probably with either the y-axis or the origin, and it also has a coincident constraint, which would be on the y-axis. So that one's kind of already automatically constrained for me, which is pretty cool. So now I'm going to dimension from here to there, and I need that to be 2 units tall. And now I have essentially my house shape. So I'm going to check mark and turn it sideways just so I can see it. All right, and if I go back and look, that thing is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That thing is 8 units long. So, whoa, that's not what I wanted to do. So I'm going to do an extrude on that. And I'm going to go 8 units. And it's not really going to matter which type I use. Oops, I forgot to include that. I can do blind, I could do symmetric, whatever. It's not really going to matter that much. I'm going to choose to do symmetric though, because that'll just kind of keep everything centered around that origin. So I'm going to check mark that. All right, cool. So now I need to do that face right there, that little thing that juts out. And that thing that juts out is 2 units away from this main part that I just created, or at least the front face of it is. So what I'm going to do now is a trick we've already learned once. I'm going to make a new plane, and that plane is going to come off of this front face. It's going to be offset, and I'm going to offset it by 2 units. All right, so now I have an offset plane that I can draw on. Check mark. Now I'm going to draw on that plane, start a sketch. And I want this thing, and I have to be really careful here to look at this image. If you notice, it's, let's see, am I able to draw on this? I don't remember. But if you'll notice that it's 4 units wide, 3 units to the top of the rectangular part, and then it's another either 1.5 or it's going to be 1.5 units up. So I want to make sure that from the bottom to the peak that's 4.5 units. All right. So how do I do that? Well, I want to first make a rectangle. I'm going to do a corner rectangle this time because I want to try to get it to, that wasn't great. All right, so I'm just going to do that, and then I can constrain this. So I'm going to put I'm going to put that line and that line. I want those to be I want those to be parallel. I guess maybe that's the choice I can make. Oh, they're already parallel. I wonder if I can make them coincident. There we go. I want that one and that one to be coincident. That'll help me quite a bit. All right, and then we can dimension them. So I'm going to dimension this. Should be 3 units tall. I guess if they're coincident, that's not going to matter, so I'm going to get out of that. I'm going to dimension this. That needs to be 3 units wide. The other one's going to automatically be 3 units tall because it's why is that? Because they are coincident on those other lines from the previous figure. Now what I haven't done and I need to do is I need to make sure that from here to there is a certain number of units. And I just realized I made a mistake. This is supposed to be 4 units wide. There we go. So we got that to be 2, that to be 4, and we are good. Now I could have done a center point rectangle, and that actually probably would have worked pretty well too, because the origin is where I need it to be centered. All right, so now I'm going to make the rest of that thing. So I'm going to draw a line from here to there to there. And again, I kind of got that point centered above the y-axis. And so now I'm just going to dimension it from there to there and make that 1.5 units. All right, check mark that sketch. All right, so now I have that sketch. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to create an extrusion of those two things going the other direction. And I could do the number of units. However, it goes a certain number of units back, and that's a little harder to tell than if I just do. It's going to be really easy. Up to part. Let's see. I'm going to select that part. Oops, that's not what I wanted to do.
Hey Andy, is Jeff around? Just checking, making sure his day's gonna be okay.
I haven't seen him yet.
Gotcha.
There we go. We got the part.